Ladislav Klíma was a Czech writer and philosopher. He was born in 1878 in Domažlice, the son of Miller Josef Klíma and his wife Josefa Burešova. He attended the gymnasium in Domažlice, but was expelled from all schools in Austria-Hungary for insulting Holy Roman Emperor Ferdinand I in his essay in 1895. He then studied at a gymnasium in Zagreb in Croatia until 1896, when he refused to continue any studies at all. He moved to Prague in 1904, refusing to work, publishing in magazines and relying on an inheritance from his parents and cash donations from his friends and admirers such as the famed poet Ottokar Březina. His first book was published anonymously and outside of regular circulation in 1904, and would not have garnered him any attention were it not for Březina promoting it. He died of tuberculosis in 1928 in Prague. Klíma would write much fiction for his own amusement, which he would then often destroy. So we will review his 1932 posthumous The Famous Nemesis and Other Tales from the fragments that remain. The title story is the longest and a huge bore. A man named Sider is visiting the Italian town of Cortona, falls in love with a woman named Aurea, follows her and her near duplicate companion up a mountain, but refuses to jump a massive gorge when told to do so. Then spends years going back to Cortona and then home, seeing Aurea, then losing her, then switching locations and doing it again for 15 years. And in between, Aurea's companion Erata, also her female lover, winds up in an asylum, where Sider beats up her psychiatrist and runs off, afraid to be arrested for a made-up charge of strangling a 137-year-old woman. When his accuser is smashed to bits by boulders, he's free, but it takes so long for the story to get to the climax. 100 years ago, in another life, he was a man who loved and then killed Aurea, and then in the present dies when he falls down the same chasm she did. It could be cut down to a third and lose all the running back and forth and would be improved immensely. How it shall be after death concerns the merchant Matthias Nebenmeyer, having a confusing, slightly too verbose existential crisis when not knowing if he had dreamed his whole life until he woke up in his hotel, or what made the sun explode, before he winds up attending his own wake. Me and my uncle has a nephew being hated and humiliated by his rich uncle, so the former sticks a toothpick into one of the latter's shoes. His uncle dies from this somehow, and he inherits everything but hates it because it belonged to his uncle, and is then pursued by his uncle's ghost pretending to be a wine merchant. A strange occurrence has the narrator be befriended by a German baron, but overhearing the latter's telepathic conference to arrange his murder. A history has Ottomar fall in love with Livia from next door, but then she disappears, and then he finds her body stuffed into a chest, running off with it cackling madly, after he made sure Livia's husband hanged himself. Helena Marna, one of the best stories in the book, has Helena lose a fiancé to sickness, then winding up in a room full of walking dead people excited to eat her as a main course provided by her dead fiancé, and running off from the dead before she is found strangled in the street. In a dreamy valley, a man falls in love with a countess who comes to kiss him one day finally, only it is after she died. Then he forgets this entirely and never mentions it again as he pursues another woman who also dies, and then appears as a spirit in the forest and binds him naked to a tree. It is extremely unfocused. Arta concerns a woman who became the love of Death himself, but then was frightened to death one day when her departed husband got out of the grave they just stuck him into, seemingly not knowing he was dead. Hundreds and hundreds of women has Count Cortini take his dead lover and stuff her body and hide it beneath the floorboards, to take out and do unspeakable things, until her corpse strangles him to death one day. A lot of good stories here, but some do go on for a bit and others are mere fragments.